right now.
Oh, that's awesome. We figured out some technical difficulties. Thank you so much for joining the Bootstraps Live show. This is episode 5. We have Rupert Magnot in the house, one of our distinguished entrepreneurs in Orlando. We'll get into a little bit more of his background in a little bit. Of course, Patrick is here, as well as myself from Beyond 360. That's right, and we're testing out a few new things today. We got a new gimbal, we got some new mics, and so we'll be turning this episode into a podcast, so it's very exciting for us. Thank you so much for bearing with us. And so we can jump right into it. Of course, BootStraps.LIVE is the first ever, as we know, 360-degree live video talk show. That's right. In 360. So go ahead, if you haven't ever experienced this show before, just go ahead and look around. You should see Mel over here. He's one of our trusted team members as well. He'll be doing some time-lapse videos for us that we can post for you guys later. And this show is meant to help entrepreneurs that are going through the process to learn from the experiences of other entrepreneurs who have already been through the process, and kind of take some tricks and tips and give that to you guys in a condensed format, even though it's about 45 minutes to an hour show, but condensed, right? And we want to make it as valuable as we can for you guys, so please comment your questions. Please share this post with anybody who you think would like to watch it, would like to follow our future episodes. Go ahead and like our page. We use the hashtag BSLive for the show, so you can go ahead and use that hashtag. And that's right, because we don't want to have any BS, but this is definitely the BS show. So, so we can get right into it. Today we have coffee, and one of Rupert's favorite drinks is coffee, right? So we'll start this BS off with a toast. So cheers.
To 360.
Thanks so much for being here today, Rupert. We really appreciate it. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, about your company, really however you'd like to describe your...
It's only a 45-minute show, so... I guess the nutshell is I started my first business when I was 20. I was getting my degree in political science at Michigan State, and when Reagan got into office, he slashed the federal payroll and everything, and I was like, ooh, I'm not going to be able to get a job with 3 million, seasoned government people, running around with resumes.
Right.
So somebody made me an offer to help them start a business and doing political consulting.
Okay.
And so I did that for 2.5, about 3 years, and until I got bought out.
Okay.
Because the big PR firm basically ushered me into the London Chop House in Detroit and said, what's it gonna take for you to go away?
Wow.
Because I was winning all my campaigns and everything. So
this was in Michigan.
Yeah, Detroit.
Okay.
Yeah. Did a few other things. Came down here in '86 to get my MBA at Rollins, so I did the 2-year full-time program. While I was doing that, I was working full-time. I had a business doing publishing for the first year, and the second year I was consultant for Martin Marietta Missiles and Electronics.
Oh, wow.
And they kept me around for actually over a year and a half. A lot of the processes they use today, I helped create.
We talked a little bit about that yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1 Million Cups, which
Yeah.
is where we met Rupert. So full circle to Rollins.
Right.
Yeah,
full circle.
That's pretty cool.
Full circle. And I like what you're doing here, because in project management we call this expert judgment.
Okay.
Because I see too many people today creating companies and not doing any research at all. Not asking people who've been there, done that, not reading books, not identifying their target markets or their customers or anything else. And they're wasting everybody's time, money, and effort. So I appreciate what you guys are doing here.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, we'll keep doing it as long as we can.
So in any case, I over the years I've got multiple patents, or had multiple patents, and have done consulting. I had a consulting business called Virtual Entrepreneur that I started in '92 after the big recession before this last one, and I had a failure at the time. I had the rug pulled out from under me by an investor and my product was ready to go, and everything was all set, and everything was in place.
Oh man.
And so that was pretty traumatic, but all my friends consoled me and said, hey, you did this, and this. Can you do that for us?
Okay.
And I said, well, yeah, sure. How much you want to pay me? You know.
Yeah.
And so I worked with a couple hundred companies over the next 9 years, doing product development, project management, writing business plans, raising capital, and all that stuff.
So the failure birthed a whole new
direction. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, as an entrepreneur, I mean, you go where the opportunities are,
That's so
right?
Yeah.
Or you create your own opportunities. So I did both.
Well, that's amazing. And you're doing Meal with a Mentor now, right?
Yeah, so I'm doing the Meal with a Mentor. I started that in March of last year, and I just had 171 yesterday. So so I do, 1 or 2 a week or whatever. Some of them are regular. I meet every week or every 2 weeks or once a month with about 20 different customers or clients, startups in this town.
And that goes along with what you were saying about kind of reaching out to experienced entrepreneurs, and so
Mhm.
they are coming to you seeking advice, consultation,
Yeah.
but you have been able to help them do that. So
Right. I've seen it all. I mean, I've seen people lose their marriages and their all their savings and their homes and unfortunately several of them their lives. It's just being an entrepreneur and not really understanding the risks involved and not prepared to assume those risks, and then when the risks occur, they become issues that they can't deal with, and then that's what happens. One of my goals is to help prevent that from happening for anybody who cares to listen.
So if you're in Orlando, buy Rupert a meal, and then he'll give you all the advice that you want to hear.
Breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and usually about an hour and 15 minutes or
I
so.
love that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And even at Raw and Think Tank last night, he was the one that was giving the most advice out of everyone there. After each person talked, first hand went up, just as equal as time as they talked, he was giving advice.
That's awesome.
Well, I mean, I've got so much to talk about on all these things, but in any case, to finish answering your question, so I did that business. Then I got into simulation. I had a simulation business for 11 years, doing entertainment, military, and commercial simulation, motion simulation, and then started teaching at UCF. I taught entertainment technology at the New Rosen College. They needed help getting started, and you got to teach, if you're going to be on staff. I'm like, okay, so what are you going to teach? So I went and talked to my friends at Universal and SeaWorld and Disney and whatnot, and they all said, well, we're bringing these liberal arts students, and we're saying, here's my $20 million roller coaster, high-tech roller coaster, push this button. It's like, no, that's not what you do, right? So I had to teach a class that would familiarize liberal arts students with high-tech and the leisure-based entertainment industry, and then Full Sail heard what I had done, and they knew I had experience in games and VR and things like that for quite a long time. And so they said, we're starting a game design master's degree program. Can you help us get that going? And we want you to teach project management. So I said, sure. So I created this master's degree level project management class for aspiring game entrepreneurs. And I had over 350 students by the time I was laid off. And after the capital, they were bought out, and the money, the penny pinchers came in.
Oh yeah.
But those 350 students, they're helping manage several $1 billion in game IP.
Oh wow.
And some of them went on to do some really great things, and I'm sure I think one of them is already a Hall of Famer over there, but I'm sure several others will be soon enough. So I'd like to think I know what I'm talking about. And then I started BGV, and 4 years ago, and then that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Burnout Game Ventures has been around for about 4 years now.
4.5, yeah.
4.5 years.
Mhm.
Okay. Would you consider Orlando a mecca for gaming development?
Yeah,
know
it's
EA was
it's got a lot of things going for it. I mean, yes, EA is the gorilla in the room as far as gaming is concerned in Orlando. They're probably bringing in about 600 mil. Then you've got Iron Galaxy and Steamroller and a bunch of other companies, much smaller companies that are, bringing in some more money. And then we've got a fairly vibrant independent game developer community in this town. We have a group called Indienomicon that I've supported since the word go, and for about little over 4 years now. And actually, no, they had just had their 5th anniversary. Wow, 5th anniversary.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And
that was like a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah. And so we, whenever the Global Game Jam comes around, Orlando usually has the top 5 number of people, around the world that are involved in it. And yeah, so we have a pretty good community. I'd like to make it much stronger, though there's a few uphill battles in order to do that. But yeah.
In terms of startups, what's going on in the space in terms of helping startups that want to be in the game industry?
Well, that's one of the reasons why I started Burnout Game Ventures, is because, working with these hundreds of companies and then through 1 Million Cups, several hundred more, and it's like, I know what makes companies successful. It's like if you keep getting in accidents, you're a bad driver. If you can't make a company work, you don't know anything about project management. So what I'm doing is taking everything that I learned over the years for my own businesses and for those that I've helped, and said, okay, I've looked at the game industry, and again, back in '96 when I started Simulation Entertainment Group and SEG Motion Technologies, we had the location-based entertainment industry was exploding, and I don't know of any other industry that grew that much for that long. Not even the internet, not cryptocurrency, right? It went from 350 family entertainment centers in 2000 to over 20,000 10 years later. Wow. 600% growth per year for 10 years. So when we got involved in it, it was on the entertainment side. People were looking for activities that they can do outside the home. Mm-hmm. So 360 or 180 around, we say, okay, we're looking at the game industry and saying, wow, we provide a lot of entertainment in the home, and now I'm seeing that come back around again within the next 3 to 5 years. Location-based entertainment's really going to rebound.
With like VR arcades and things like that, right?
Yeah. So, and I had experience with games since '95 or so, and then VR since '92. So yeah, it was a natural thing for me. And I looked at these guys, and I started studying the industry, and I'm like, how many companies have you heard of that grew at 13.3% last year? And it's not very many.
Right, yeah.
And we're not talking about a company. We're talking about $100+ billion industry that's over 40 years old. That industry grew at 13.3% this last year.
That's huge.
And it's like, I don't understand why people aren't investing hand over foot in this industry,
Mm-hmm.
because the average private investment generates a 700% return in 3 years. So it's like, hello, So in any case,
for an opportunity.
so I looked at it and I'm like, wow, this is great. It's a great industry. It's huge. It's growing fast. There's a lot of really cool, dynamic stuff going on in it. So what's the problem? Well, the problem is there's several. First of all, the vast majority of games sold are sequels.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Final Fantasy's 18, Madden 2019, which is like the 30th iteration, and and Assassin's Creed, like, I don't know.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
It's 80% of the games sold and are sequels.
Yeah.
And they only come out once every few years. So what does Sony PlayStation do? What does Microsoft Xbox do? What does Valve Steam do? What does Nintendo do? In the meantime.
Yeah.
So they desperately need, and they've told me this, they desperately need original content. So where does that original content come from? Well, the vast majority of people creating games in the game industry are independent, or what we call indie game developers. They have a 95% failure rate to break even.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wait a minute, where's $70 billion in growth going to come from in the next 5 years when the majority of your participants are not participating?
Right.
okay? So I looked at them and I studied them and I interviewed a whole bunch of them and talked to them and everything, and it boils down to this. They're focused on making games they want to sell, which are not necessarily games people want to buy. And they don't plan at all. So it's like their scope, their schedule, their marketing, everything goes out the window with predictable results. So I created BGV to be a helping hand, so to speak, to allow them the opportunity to learn what it means to be a successful studio, and to do it right the first time. And so, I don't know, if you do it right the first time, you think you'll do it right the second time?
Hopefully.
How about the 100th time, right?
Repeatable.
So, right, so,
Quality.
so we provide them all the people, all the resources, the proprietary processes, and the kick in the butt they need in order to create quality game experiences fast. So we implement good project management practices that I helped fine tune while I was at teaching at school, and put those processes in place. So now I've got a one-of-a-kind startup that is, we've been paying ROI, monthly ROI, since January of last year. We have over 500 people in our talent pool, ready to make games. We have 8 products on 5 platforms out now, and we're adding new products and platforms monthly, if not weekly. We have 25 world-class advisors. Most people consider them icons. The guy who literally created Assassin's Creed, the guy who did the art for World of Warcraft, the guy who took Grief from 0 to $500 million in marketing. I mean, I got 25 of these people.
Nice.
So we have the team, we have a place, we have everything in place. We've been paying couple of investors have reinvested. So I mean, we're getting to the point where we need to scale, which is going to take much larger investment. So that's what I'm working on right now. But we just released a game called Not Without You.
And that's going to be the big breadwinner, I know it.
Well, it's got to get there. It's got to get there.
I'm obsessed with it. I tell you all the time.
Well, I appreciate it.
I play that game religiously. I'm stuck on one level though. 20-something. I'm like sitting on. I can't figure it out.
Which one? World 3?
No, I'm in only World 2 right now.
Okay.
I might be wrong about the number, but I'm only in World 2.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll help you out. I'll help you out. So in any case, in any case, right now what we're trying to do is we're trying to fine tune our target markets for this game, and our customer acquisition costs and things like that, and that'll definitely put us in a much better position.
Tell us a little bit about the game.
So the game is called Not Without You, and basically these cute mythical creatures called Pilcry were kidnapped by a mad scientist for experimentation. And it's like, oh, we have to go save the Pilcry. So what you do is it's a series of puzzles, and you go through various different worlds. The first world is the lab. You have to help them escape from the lab. And then you have to help them escape the park, and then the sewer, and then finally, where they finally go. And so these puzzles, well, first of all, they all move in unison.
Yeah, that's the tricky part about it.
They all move in unison, so when you swipe right, they all go right.
Yeah.
When you swipe left, they all go left.
It's a strategy game.
And so you have to use the environment in order to reposition them so that they all can be positioned over the trapdoors to escape simultaneously.
Yeah.
And
It's difficult. It's difficult.
So David, if you're out there, David Cruz is the Guinness Book of World Records holder for the Tron arcade game and the Ms. Pac-Man arcade game.
Oh wow.
And he's been playing this for great. He saw us first at Free Play Florida.
Okay.
We had a table there. We were demonstrating the game there, and it was packed. I mean, we had people 4 deep waiting to play the game. Yeah, just like at OTAP, everywhere we go. And so he says, "Can I play the game?" I'm like, "Sure." And I'm like, "This guy looks familiar." And then when Brad came over, I said, "Who is this guy?" He says, "That's David Cruz." I'm like,
"Oh, no way."
David Cruz? He says, "Yeah, Art Tron, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "Really?" He was there for an hour and 51 minutes, and that was just through one world.
Why?
We were just playing the one world there.
Oh my gosh.
Right? And it
'Cause
took him an hour and 51 minutes to get through the entire world.
Because you want to beat it with 3 stars. You can't just beat
no,
it.
no, no, no.
Yeah, you
that
wanna
was just
beat
to get through it.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
He came
wow.
back the next day and played another 53 minutes because he said, I want to get 3 stars on all the levels.
Yep. That's why I don't go to the next level until I beat it with 3 stars.
Okay.
That's why it's taking me so long.
All right. I can appreciate that. So, so in any case, it's 3 worlds now, and then we're adding a 4th world within the next week or so. And
So we put the description in the Facebook post, so you guys can go download the game today as well.
it's $1.99.
Yeah.
Pay once, play as much as you want. There's no crappy ads. There's no ads at all.
Yeah.
You know, there's no downloadable content that you have to buy in order to continue. We don't do any of that BS.
It's very challenging.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
which is good.
and free updates. So every time we do an update or add a world or any new skins, or I don't know about skins, but you know, as we add things inherent to the game, it's all free.
Awesome.
So yeah, so we just need to get it in front of people because we've got 5 stars across all platforms. You know, all our reviews, everything has just been, you know, pretty crazy. So it's been exciting.
How many users do you have on it now?
We don't have many. Again, we're not even really marketing yet. We're just testing the markets.
Sure.
So we're doing, you know, unfortunately we have to depend on Facebook right now, which to me is it's like you know, voting for president these days. It's like you don't like any of them, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, so we have except I'm independent. So, but in any case, you have to use Facebook, and they've tripled their costs in the last 18 months.
Oh.
And it's like, so
For
if you want
ad
to,
spend.
if you want to get the same amount of, you know, impressions and clicks and things like that now, you have to pay 3 times as much as you had to.
Yeah.
And that's not just the cost itself, but it was the algorithms they put in place. So we're finding them extremely unfriendly.
Because they're trying to make the same amount of money, but they don't do cryptocurrency anymore, and they've banned so many different types of ads.
I
Maybe
don't
that's
know
why.
what they're thinking.
Maybe.
I really don't know what they're thinking, but you know, every time I've been involved in a number of IPOs, and I always counsel against it. I say, don't do it, because they say why, and I'm like, okay, you're a small company, you've got maybe 15 people in it. Literally overnight, your administrative costs are going to quintuple.
Mm.
You wake up the next morning, you need to have 10 people in your customer service, you need to have 10 people in your investment relations, you know, management team, you immediately.
Yeah.
You better have that before you go public, because the phone's gonna be running off the hook. Because every 2-bit shareholder with 1 share, 1 10-cent share in your company is gonna be calling you up the next morning. How's my share doing? What are you doing? You know, how come you didn't do this? And why are you smoking pot on the video? You know, it's like, yeah, it's like it's crazy, right? So that's what's going on with them, and you know, they've got too many cooks in the soup. And I don't think Zuckerberg is getting the right advice, but...
So pre-IPO, is that similar to how investors can kind of be when you get them into your company? I mean, have you seen that, or what's the relationship there in terms of a founder and, you know, wanting to control your company, but, you know, your customers are always the boss, and then your employees are your boss.
Yes,
and then,
yes,
and then
absolutely.
is it the investors are your boss, right? And so...
No,
okay.
So the thing is control is an illusion. First of all, absolutely. It's just, it doesn't matter if you've got 100% or investors have 100%. It's still an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on the relationship and so forth. So
Okay.
like my investors are strictly royalty. You know, I own 100% equity in my company. However, 2 of them have reinvested. They're getting ROI. Are there any other startups in this town that are generating ROI? Right? Or in this country, let alone this town. So that's the relationship right now. It's just a royalty, because I'm not asking people to invest in equity operations.
Right.
I'm not asking them to invest in risky software development, because I've already paid for that. It's done. It's been developed. Right? All we need the money for is marketing.
Yep.
Right? And so my goal is to generate $4 for every dollar we spend in marketing.
Right.
And we're getting close. We're getting there. This month will be a good idea to see how close we get on that.
That's an interesting model, because you're right. Then they are just getting a piece of the pie in terms of the profit.
Right.
They don't ever touch, you know, the company.
Right.
Which is awesome. Yeah,
Well, the
it's
problem
interesting.
too, though, is marketing's changed so much. And it's not just, Facebook and social media, which, I'm a shareholder with Got Chosen, and we were doing research in the internet marketing industry, and it's like 97 cents of every dollar you spend in internet marketing is wasted.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, at least that's what we came up with, and it was like, holy crap, I mean, this is terribly inefficient.
Yeah, that's bad.
And the thing is, not only that, but marketing people, 3%. Back in my day, I would walk into a company and say, I'll work for free for a month, and if I don't double your revenues in that time, have a nice day.
Sure.
Right? But if I do double your revenues, I want 20% of those revenues. Right? And so we had to prove ourselves first.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, all the marketing companies are like, oh yeah, we'll do these tasks and those tasks, which you can do, but we'll do these tasks. But granted, they are experts, and they do bring value to the table with regard to having teams together and having hopefully processes in place to do things and so forth efficiently. But hey, pay us $5,000 a month, but you can't guarantee me you're going to generate $20,000 in sales. And I'm like, why am I giving you money if I wind up in 4 months I'll pay $20,000 and then I don't have any sales? It's like, what's going on? So it's tough. It's tough to be an entrepreneur these days, especially with the social media marketing and all that.
So any tactics, any ways to get about that?
Well, nothing's changed in this regard. That a good marketing campaign needs to be holistic.
Okay.
It has to be comprehensive, right? You can't just focus on social media. You have to look at TV. You have to look at print. You have to look at radio. You have to look at direct mail. You have to use your head. Come up with interesting stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Look what Kay Rawlings did with Orlando City. She made these magnets, thousands and thousands of magnets that people put on their cars, and the next thing you know, she went from being a school teacher sitting in her kitchen to managing $100+ million enterprise. Yeah. So it's like, you have to think outside the box. Yeah. Fortunately, very few people do, so that helps you stand out. Sure. Unfortunately, very few people do, so they don't get it.
Yeah.
So it's tough getting the help that you need.
And being where your customers are. I mean, there's something to be said about that, right?
Yeah. The thing is with the games, every game has a different target market. Right.
So you guys are in the process now.
So like I said, we're in the process of determining the target market for this game. Now, what we're doing though overall is we're creating a brand for BGV, for Burnout Game Ventures, so that ultimately, within a couple of years, people are going to be going, oh, BGV's coming out with a new game. They don't care what studio it is. They don't care what game it is. They know it's going to be good, right? Yeah. Because they've been playing our games for a couple of years and they love them. So that's what we're going to try to do.
So that's one of your personal goals then, is to kind of grow the Burnout Game Ventures brand?
That's a professional goal. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
What about personal goals?
Personal goals?
Yeah.
I want to have kids. I want to have a family. It's like I'm coming up on 60 years old, and it's like I don't have any little brats to play with.
Yeah.
But I have friends that are my age that are having kids now,
Yeah.
So it's
why not?
just why not?
Just gotta find.
Yeah. Plus, I want to travel, and I haven't traveled much in the last 20 years because I've been working 80+ hours a week. It's like it's not and putting every penny I have into my businesses, so it's not conducive to traveling and living high on the hog,
Yeah.
Though I do go to car shows regularly, which is a lot of fun.
Okay.
I'm a car nut right here.
I get to meet with all my buds, and we drive around in our cars and stuff like that. So that's kind of fun.
Patrick considers himself, master mechanic.
Well, I'm a mechanic by trade.
Well, Burnout.
Yeah.
It's a spinning D-pad.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Burning out.
Your logo earlier.
Here's the Burnout smoke. I mean,
that's cool.
So you kind of joined, like the hot rod feel with the logo of gaming.
Yeah.
I like it. What kind of car do you drive?
I have an AMG.
What year?
It's an 09.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a newer one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. AMGs are nice though.
Yeah, mine's the SLK.
Yeah.
So it's the size of a Miata, and it's got a 5.5-liter hand-built V8.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah.
I gotta ask, how do you manage your time through all these things that you do? How do you pull it off?
It's called project management. Project management and being a little bit insane. You know,
Well,
it's like, it's...
We're insane a little bit.
it's-
Yeah, we're a little
You know,
insane.
my favorite cereal's not Cocoa Puffs for nothing, you know, I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So,
Do you have any tips for anyone listening on time management?
just be yourself and just regulate your day the way you feel comfortable. Is ideally what you do is you know, one of the things that I do is every night before I go to bed, I write down, I have a Trello board, a special Trello board that's just the top 3 tasks that I need to do the next day.
Okay.
If I do one of those tasks that day, then I'm happy.
Awesome.
Okay, so, and having 3 gives me an option to which one I wanna hit. Because when I look at my main Trello board, I have 211 tasks, so it's like, right?
So you pick from that board to the
Yeah.
priority,
Yeah,
priority
yeah.
board? And those are a mix of professional and personal?
No, they're all professional.
Okay.
I don't have a life. My girlfriend's been gone for 2 months and I've been working like a dog, so. So it's like, yeah, it's just pull from the primary one and then just, that's what you're gonna do the next
Yeah,
day.
that's a good process.
So when I wake up in the morning, I know what I gotta do. So I, you know, get on the treadmill, I gotta do that, gotta, you know, gotta exercise a little bit, and then you gotta go out and just hit it, just grind, you know, press the flesh. I go to these things, you see me at all the networking functions, help run 1 million cups, and just gotta be out there and socialize and, you know, have some semblance of a life.
Yeah.
Because being an entrepreneur is lonely. It's very, I mean, if you're working, you know, if you're 80 hours a week sitting in front of a computer, that's not very conducive to, you know, vitamin D efficiency, you know. And so, yeah, it's good to get out. And fortunately in this town, we have a plethora of entrepreneurial activities and so forth. We're gonna be doing the OTAB next week as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We love OTAB. We
There's-
tell our listeners to come.
Yeah.
Right, but the thing is I encourage all the entrepreneurs that are listening is stop creating new meetups, for crying out loud. There's over 130 entrepreneurial meetups in this town, and I'm like, why? You know, you have one meeting, and 2 people show up,
Right.
and it's like,
It's
when you've got Orlando entrepreneurs, you've got 1 million cups, you've got Orlando Tech and Beer, you've got, you know, Orlando Tech.
Mhm.
I mean, you've got all these other organizations where people are already going, so why don't you go network with them and then bring all your friends with you,
Yeah.
right?
And so these are events that you're passionate about going to anyway. It doesn't feel like work for you. These are things that
No,
you
it's
enjoy.
it's
you
fun.
know?
It is work, but yeah, it's fun.
It's more of a
fun.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love telling people about the business and what we're doing and hopefully bump into investors, which happens fairly often.
Awesome.
And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about going to these events and networking. I want to know, you know, the board of advisors that you put together for, you know, Burnout Game Ventures. How
Right.
did that come about? You know, networking with those people, getting them on board, building those relationships.
Well, the thing is no one person is an island, okay? So, you know, when you're an entrepreneur, you really can't do it all by yourself. And I spent quite a bit of time when this lean startup methodology came out. I was about 15 years ago or so. I started reading up on it and everything else and looking at these things called business model canvases. Because when I was writing business plans, you know, I was getting 20 grand to write a business plan, you know, but it was a 150-page thing with 400 pages of appendices. And then after 9/11, it dropped down to a 50-page plan with 100 pages of appendices. And then over the years, it's gone down more and more to a 15-page thing with 10 pages of and now it's just a business model canvas and a pitch deck.
Or a landing page.
Right? Yeah, or a landing page.
Yeah.
I mean, I've people in Silicon Valley are getting $10 million and a handshake on a drawing on a napkin,
Yeah.
for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Literally, I've heard this happen. And I'm like,
That's so
seriously? You know? So I looked at the business model canvas and I looked at all the canvases that everybody's using, and I actually collaborated with a couple of the authors and came up with my own business model canvas, so that that's aimed strictly at entrepreneurs and able to help them get have the right foundation. Because if you don't have a good foundation, I don't care how strong a structure you have, it's gonna fall, okay? So you have to make sure that your foundation is good. And people totally ignore the why. Why are you doing this? That is upon which everything is based. And if you start going off on tangents, because we're entrepreneurs, you know, we deal with squirrel. We deal with 9,000 squirrels a day,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And people get, you know, oh, here's an opportunity, and we see opportunities where others don't.
Yeah.
And it's so easy for somebody that's off your path, your chosen path, to come at you and say, here's a way to make money if you just if you use, you know, 30% of your capabilities and do it this way. No. Focus.
That can probably be the hardest thing that we struggle with.
You
I think
have to
in our
focus.
company.
That we struggle with personally, and I struggle with personally, but I think it's everyone has it inside them
Yeah.
to be like, ooh,
You can't.
what's that over there?
When an email comes in, or when you see the money somewhere else, and you're like, well, we could do this for the next couple of weeks,
You can't.
type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Jobs himself said the most important skill that he developed was the ability to say no.
Mm.
Okay, and you have to. You can be starving, you could be living in your car, for crying out loud, and somebody comes up with you there with some money. That's a tough decision. You know, if you really want to be successful with what you've got to be focused on what you're on your plan. So you have to plan first of all. So you start out with a business model canvas that understands your why and everything else that goes from there. And that's what I do with all my mentors, mentoring people, mentees that I'm dealing with. And then once you have that done, now you've got enough to do a business plan, a pitch deck, or anything else, and pitches, right? Because you have your 4 pitches. You've got your elevator pitch, your social pitch, your business like 1 million cups pitch, and then you have your 20-minute venture pitch.
Sure.
So all these things can come from just one simple document. So I encourage everybody, please do that, right? And you know, I don't know why, but a lot of people in this town are using a business model canvas that I find not only useless but harmful.
Mm.
And because it totally ignores several things like the why, for example, that you need to understand, because if you don't, that why gives you purpose. Now, there's a couple people in this town that have started a purpose-driven, they call it purpose-driven entrepreneurship or whatever. I applaud them for what they're doing, Tom, if you're listening.
Purpose pioneers.
Yeah, and so, you know, if you're not on purpose, then your chances of success are a small fraction of what they would otherwise be. So, know your why, have everything else flow from that, plan stuff out,
Yeah.
you know, and don't just assume things in your plan. Go out and get expert judgment, talk to people. So to answer your question, so I found this out at a, you know, fairly about, I was your age, I guess, and I was like, okay, so when I started SEG, I knew that, you know, even though it was me and a partner of mine who was a mechanical engineer, a brilliant guy, and so we designed and patented these motion controls, motion systems for simulators, and I knew I had to get, you know, a team of knowledge and wisdom and experience. So within 8 months, I had a Coast Guard admiral. I had 2 people that now have scholarships in their names at UCF.
Mm.
I have Hank Okraski and Vince Amico. Had the government's #1 grant writing authority. I had you know, I had about 20 of these people.
Right.
And so that got me noticed by investors. I raised a couple $1 million, and you know, next thing I know, I'm running a thriving, you know, simulation company. And so I did that for 11 years, and then at that point I said, well, man, I'm 45 years old, I don't have kids, I don't have a family, and I don't have a life. I need to do something. So I wound up, and I've seen what happens when people sell their companies to others, It's not good for the employees. So I found them all jobs, got them all set up, higher pay, better benefits. They didn't have to move, so they could keep their kids in the school.
That's awesome.
And sold all the assets and paid off the investors and everybody else, and had a nest egg and found a woman and got married, and then got divorced 2 years ago. Yeah, so.
So balance is important, and something that you've kind of realized. And
Entrepreneurs are inherently unbalanced
Yep.
in everything.
You gotta be
Right.
balanced and
They
be
don't-
unbalanced.
They don't call us the 1% for nothing.
right.
Okay, so we're the ones who are taking the risks. We take more risks for the 1%. The 1% take more risks than the other 99% put together.
Yeah.
And it's like, because they're just not, they can't even understand it, right? And nothing against the other 99%, but it's, because they're the ones that help us make money too, because they're doing, they're designing products, helping us design products, and they're helping us market products, and they're helping us, administer our companies and things like that. So, God bless them,
Buying
right?
products.
And buying products and so forth. So
Without them, there would be us.
there wouldn't be us. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, absolutely. So, so all you have to do is, I encourage you all to, once you get your business model canvas done, now you should be able to have an elevator pitch or something that you can hit somebody between the eyes with. What do you do? I'm with Burnout Game Ventures, where we incubate game ideas from 0 to sales in 6 months or less.
Zero to revenue.
And they're like, wait a minute, what? Tell me more. And it works like a charm. And then, so that gets you in the door, and the next thing you know, you get people interested. The thing is for advisors, once you have your business model canvas done, now you can talk intelligently about your company and your business.
Right.
And you have to put it all on that one sheet.
Yeah.
All on that one sheet, okay? No less than 6 size font, right? Because if you, like Einstein said, if you cannot explain your business simply, you don't know it well enough.
Right.
So once you have all that done, then you identify the top people in your industry, okay? And it doesn't have to be the top people, but I'll tell you this. If you intend to be $1 million company, you need to get in a $1 million advisory board. Everybody on that advisory board has to have generated at least $1 million. If you want to be a $100 million company like I do, actually $330 million, I have to find a $330 million advisory board. So that's why I have Neil Haldar, that's why I have John Hanson, that's why I have Dennis Price and Pascal Aubin and so forth. So and Mark Mencher and so forth. So these are all, literally if you're at GDC walking with these guys, literally the crowds part. I've seen it. You're just walking along, and all of a sudden you realize, I'm not being bustled by people. We're walking down, and people you're like, okay, this is cool,
So GDC?
Game Developers Conference.
Okay, got it.
So just ask, because these people typically have been there, done that, and they appreciate entrepreneurial zeal and enthusiasm and the opportunities they bring. Okay, so if you've sold it well enough, then they might just ask you, hey, is there any way I can help? Well, funny you should mention that, right? I'm looking for I'm looking for advisors, and all you need to do is just make yourself available and allow us to put your face on our website, and hook us up with people, help us network, right? Help us find investors, or help us find people we need to do things, and maybe make some bucks out of it.
Yeah.
Or ultimately be hired, we'll make you an offer you can't refuse.
Yeah.
I would say that generally people are always willing to help if you're willing to ask.
They
you
are.
said. Yeah.
But you have to know how to ask.
Sure. Okay.
And you have to put the work behind it once they start helping you.
Yeah, that's one of my weaknesses is follow through, because I'm doing so much with so little, and it's like, it's tough to follow through with everybody, but yeah.
So you mentioned the Lean Business Model Canvas, and you mentioned the why concept. So I just want to let the listeners know, if you're interested in looking more into that, Simon Sinek has a video about it, about the why concept, and it's why, how, and what. is how he breaks it down.
Right.
So that might be able to help you guys if you're in that process of trying to discover your company's mission, and your 0 to revenues in 6 months or less is a very good purpose-driven mission statement. And so that's a good resource for you there. We went through and did the Lean Business Model Canvas as part of Starter Studio, and then hyper-focused on it with iCore, which we've talked to you guys about, the iCore program. So he used to work at UCF. Shout out to UCF. We went to the Starter Riot event yesterday. Mel did a great job as being a brand ambassador for us.
Brand ambassador.
That's right. So that's where I got this shirt. So
Yeah, that's awesome shirt.
we definitely want to give them, so they got like the 24/7, 365 type of thing, and you
Unless
kind
you're
of,
Rupert.
yeah.
24/8, 365.
Yeah, 25, 8, 366, right? Maybe that should be another concept. But, and you talked about balance, and it's funny because, I quit a cushion, 40-hour-a-week job to now have no income and work
Right.
90 hours a week, and
Right.
that's something that you're only going to understand if you are part of that 1% and you're willing to go through with the struggle.
Well, entrepreneurs, in my opinion, an entrepreneur is a person who starts and operates an enterprise based on 3 things: risk, initiative, and resilience. If you don't have those 3 things in massive abundance, think twice about starting a business, okay? Because this town is consistently ranked in the top 5 cities in the country for startups, but in the bottom 5 cities in the country for startup jobs.
Right.
And it's because startups don't last very long in this town because, number one, people are giving them the wrong business model canvases that don't cover why and whatnot.
The why, yeah.
And so they're like, and then when they get hit with things that they would have otherwise been able to brush off because of understanding their why and being focused, then they give up. I'm going to go back and get that 40-hour-a-week cushy job, right? And so they lack the resilience, and then in the initiative, of course, you got to get up every morning and dust yourself off.
Yeah.
That takes initiative, and again, it's not for everybody. So, and if you have a family, your family has to be 110% behind you.
Yes.
They have to be 110%. All your friends need to support you.
You might lose friends.
You will lose friends.
Yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely.
lose a lot of friends.
Yeah,
So-
you will lose friends.
Because they're going to want to do stuff on the weekends, and you're going to be working. They're going to invite you to dinners, and you're going to be working. And you have this whole other baby that you're worried about, other than, I actually have a baby, but you have your business, which is your baby.
One of my favorite quotes is on my Virtual Entrepreneur Facebook page, which is, entrepreneur is someone who's willing to do what other people won't, so they can live for a short time, relatively short time, so that they can live the rest of their lives like other people cannot.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Right?
So if you have resolved to take that leap, and you've been determined enough to become an entrepreneur, there are resources out there. We went to the speaking of purpose, if you have a purpose-driven goal for your business, Rally is a social entrepreneurship accelerator here in Orlando. We just went to their demo night. It was really cool. Yaupon Brothers Tea was the winning company from that event. Also, we want to mention Starter Studio. They are still accepting applications. They will walk you through the Lean Business Model Canvas, but we would also recommend listening to Thomas Waterman's Purpose Pioneers weekly show that he does, where he can help you kind of outline some of the purpose-driven things that you can do to make your business more successful in that light.
And I would encourage people also to go to the OrlandoEntrepreneurs.org site because it's a pretty good wealth of information with regard to consultants, investors and angels, and other resources and groups and things like that are available for you, so you can go get out of the house, go network, meet people, find out more things from them. Just ask, go to a function and say, what other things do you go to? What other things do you recommend, and so forth. People are more than happy to provide that information to you.
Yeah, and we'll include the links for everything that we just described in the Facebook post. Please, again, like our page, share our post, include that with some of your friends in your groups if you can. We're on a few different social media channels, including Instagram. And we're kind of expanding into YouTube, as well as this episode you might see as a podcast audio version, so I'll be working on that. And then I was going to say something else. Of course, go download the game. It's
Yep.
Not Without You.
Not Without You. It's on iOS, Android, and Steam.
Okay.
So PC and Mac as well. So those 4 products. And we're getting ready to do it on itch.io and about 20 other online digital platforms. And then see how things go, and if things go well, we'll be making a freemium game out of it, as well as you know, a lot more worlds and a lot more other things, because we want to build it. We're on a trajectory right now. We're still at the bottom here, but it's going to do a hockey stick eventually, and then we can hopefully be the next Candy Crush. That would be nice.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Or Angry Birds or one of those, because
Yeah.
it's kind of one of those kind of.
Well, I don't want to
games.
go through 52 games before we finally have a hit.
Is that was?
But the thing is, that the beauty of BGV is our business model, which is we're all entrepreneurs.
Right.
So nobody gets paid, including myself, until the game sells. So the thing is, though, is that when you take salaries out of the equation, that cuts the cost of making a game by 75%.
Absolutely.
And then our processes cut another 20% out of that. So instead of spending $700,000-$800,000 to develop an indie game, we're doing it in $5,000 to $30,000. But you can imagine what that does to our ROI.
Yeah, I love how you took what your experience was and your passion was, and you found an opportunity and in an industry that was growing, and you said, I'm going to flip it all on its head and I'm going to come up with this creative business model. And I think that's entrepreneurship in a nutshell, and making that work. You know.
And the thing is I try to design a win-win situation for everybody concerned. So, you know, indie developers are already doing this anyway.
Right.
We come along and say, look, no out-of-pocket expenses, you keep your intellectual property and creative freedom, well, most of your creative freedom, because if Dennis Pascal tells you to change something on your game, you damn well better change it. And you're getting a majority of the revenues instead of a minority of the profits.
Right.
So, yeah, and not only that, but we got people like Dennis and everybody and Pascal and so forth coming in and, you know, mentoring them. And now they're getting that wealth, and even the kicker is if you decide at some point in time that you don't want to be an entrepreneur, it's too tough or whatever, that's fine. The thing is, you give me your resume, and then I send it to, you know, EA or BioWare or Naughty Dog or whoever else you want to work for, and say, hey, here's the resume, and they know that you're not only qualified technically, but now you're qualified managerially because you worked at BGV. So that helps them too.
That's a good tip, to work hard, whatever you're doing today, every day.
Everything kind of comes full circle in terms of networking. So never burn bridges. That's something that
No, I don't burn bridges. I had a few burned, but yeah, it's just.
Yeah.
And it has to, you always have to try to come up with a win-win situation. I've seen too many people get screwed, you know, as entrepreneurs. I've been screwed many times, and it's like, you got to roll with it and just keep going. Adjust your plans a little bit to make sure that you stay focused and stay on your path, but maybe doing it a little differently. But yeah.
That's one thing about Rupert, is he's always wanted to help everyone. You can see that at 1 Million Cups. You can see that with me with a mentor. You can see that in his business model. So what we'll do is we'll follow up with Rupert in a couple weeks, as we're going to do with Leap with Alice here soon. And that was our first episode. We're doing a follow-up episode with them soon, so you guys will see some content from Leap with Alice. We're back in the Leap with Alice office here doing this video podcast. So we checked in our location on Facebook to this office, so we're going to start doing more episodes here. This is our home base as well. This is where our offices are. And then you had mentioned Orlando Entrepreneurs. We're going to have David Brim on here soon. He's going to be one of our guests.
And come to 1 Million Cups every Wednesday morning at Rollins at 8:30.
I'm glad you said that, because they're big supporters of our show, and they're awesome. And RC and Juliana.
It's free parking, free donuts, free coffee, and free wisdom.
Yep, and it's at Rollins in Winter Park, so it's local to Orlando. And if you haven't been to that campus, it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And they do a great job of hosting the event.
Yeah, so just look up 1 Million Cups Orlando.
Yep, and then Beyond 360 actually does a 360 video live
Yeah, you guys
stream.
do the video. Yeah.
And so if
you're a sponsor.
We are, yeah. And so if you guys are not local to Orlando and you just for some reason can't make it, we do post every single weekly episode or event online, so you can always go back and watch the past couple months of episodes or events. We've posted them there, so keep an eye out for that. And then
over 500 entrepreneurs have been through that program.
Nice.
As presenters.
As presenters.
Yeah, and you helped start, that you're a part of it here.
Dana Shea, one of the other advisors on Orlando Entrepreneurs, and Ron Benziv were the ones who brought 1 Million Cups to Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
It's a national program funded by the Kauffman Foundation, which is $2.5 billion endowment, and they basically fund all kinds of things. And I liken it to an education program where, you know, the entrepreneurs come in and educate us for 6 minutes about their business idea, and then we as an audience educate them for 20 minutes on our wisdom.
Nice.
And provide them guidance and things like that. And I call it the guppy tank. And so, yeah.
As opposed to Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Guppy tank.
And yeah, because we're not eating people alive, though I've been on occasion I have done that. So it's a great opportunity. If you don't know much about entrepreneurship, there's no better lesson in this town. Yeah.
And if you need feedback on your concept, that's the best place, I think, to get, you know, honest, genuine feedback from all types of different perspectives. I mean, there's people in there that are good at marketing, there's people that are engineers, and I mean, you can get
anyone there.
Yeah.
Any kind of advice.
Yeah.
Even if it's hard advice that you definitely need.
Yeah, and if you want to do a presentation or do a pitch, then, you know, a lot of entrepreneurs hire me to help them with that pitch and set it all up and make it look spiffy and knock it out of the park, you know.
How can people find you online?
Just Google Rupert Magnot. That's all you need to do.
And
I get
virtual,
like 9 pages of Bing and Google.
Virtual Entrepreneurs website you mentioned?
Virtual Entrepreneur. Well, the website I haven't really done much with anything of it, but just look me up on Facebook or Burnout, like us on Burnout Game Ventures on Facebook and go to our BGV website as well. Yeah.
Awesome, and you'll see some of those links, especially for the game and for Burnout Game Ventures, on the Facebook description. And like we said, we'll do a follow-up with Rupert here in a couple weeks, see how they're doing, see how everything's going with the game. And then we want to thank you guys so much for being a part of the show. Again, we're, you know, kind of self-proclaimed first ever in the world 360-degree video business show. So we're really excited about that. This is our 5th episode. Please share with friends. Please like our page to stay updated. Our website is www.BootStraps.LIVE. And you can go ahead and follow us on Instagram or Facebook. And we look forward to seeing you guys next time. Thanks so much, Rupert.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks for